The world was stunned when the International Atomic Energy Agency publicly declared that after exhaustive inspections and months of monitoring, its experts have found no credible evidence that Iran is actively pursuing the development of nuclear weapons. This announcement from the head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog contradicted assertions from both U.S. and Israeli officials who have for years maintained that Tehran was racing toward a bomb. As global markets, diplomatic capitals, and military planners absorbed this bombshell, the geopolitical landscape shifted in ways that few had anticipated. The implications of the IAEA's findings, or lack of findings, have rippled through international politics, strategic alliances, and public discourse around nuclear proliferation. Before we dive deeper into what this means for global security, regional tensions, and U.S.-Iran relations, stay tuned for more updates on this pivotal moment in modern geopolitics. The IAEA, the world's leading authority on nuclear energy and proliferation monitoring, reiterated that its inspectors have not uncovered evidence supporting claims that Iran is building nuclear weapons, despite repeated speculation and political narratives from some governments. Director General Rafael Grossi made it clear that while Iran possesses nuclear material and enrichment facilities, there is no indication of a coordinated or active weapons program. This statement runs directly counter to long-standing claims by Israeli leaders and several U.S. officials who have warned that Iran was approaching nuclear weapons capability. The declaration came after complex satellite monitoring, on-site inspections when possible, and detailed analysis of nuclear material holdings. Although Iran has accumulated enriched uranium, including material enriched to higher levels than typically used in civilian energy programs, that material alone does not constitute proof of a weapons program. The IAEA's mandate is not to speculate, but to verify. Its role is to track whether nuclear material is diverted toward military purposes. In this case, inspectors reported that they have not found substantiated indicators that Iran has taken that step. For decades, the question of Iran's nuclear ambitions has been at the center of international controversy. Critics fear that a nuclear-armed Iran could destabilize the Middle East, trigger regional arms races, and undermine the global nuclear non-proliferation regime. Supporters of stricter measures argue that Iran's leadership cannot be trusted to remain permanently committed to peaceful nuclear development. Yet the IAEA's latest assessment complicates the narrative that Iran is actively building a bomb, and that shift carries profound consequences for how the world understands the conflict. So what exactly did the IAEA say? Director General Grossi emphasized that the agency has not found evidence of a structured nuclear weapons production program in Iran. That does not mean Iran's nuclear capabilities are insignificant. Iran continues to maintain enrichment infrastructure and nuclear material stockpiles. However, the leap from possessing enriched uranium to actually producing a nuclear weapon requires additional steps, including weapon design and integration, and those steps have not been verified. The agency also noted that regional military tensions and ongoing conflicts have complicated certain inspection activities. Despite these challenges, inspectors still report that no confirmed evidence exists of an active nuclear weapons program. This finding has immediate implications for the political narratives that have fueled pressure campaigns against Iran. For years, Israeli and American leaders have warned that Iran's nuclear activities posed an urgent threat unless contained or rolled back. Those warnings have helped justify sanctions, diplomatic pressure, and military preparedness. Now, with the IAEA stating that it has not identified an active weapons program, those arguments face renewed scrutiny. Analysts emphasize that concerns about nuclear proliferation have not disappeared. Iran's enrichment of uranium, particularly at elevated levels, remains a significant issue for the international community. Enriched uranium is the key ingredient required for nuclear weapons. The difference between a civilian nuclear program and a military one lies in intent and the presence of weaponization activities. It is precisely those weaponization activities that inspectors say they have not verified. Nuclear material alone, even if technically capable of being used in a weapon, does not automatically indicate that a nation intends to build one. The announcement also carries a psychological impact on the international stage. Countries across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East that have advocated for diplomatic engagement with Tehran now have a technical assessment from the world's primary nuclear watchdog supporting their position. This could open the door for renewed negotiation frameworks, confidence-building measures, and incentives designed to maintain transparency in Iran's nuclear program. For U.S. officials, the situation presents a complex political challenge. Washington has long sought to reassure allies and domestic audiences that pressure on Iran is necessary to prevent nuclear weapons development. Yet the IAEA's assessment complicates claims that Iran is on the verge of building a bomb. This may encourage policymakers to place greater emphasis on diplomacy, verification mechanisms, and international monitoring rather than purely military deterrence. It is also important to recognize that Iran's nuclear program has long been surrounded by political tensions, mistrust, and historical grievances. U.S. intelligence agencies, European governments, and international inspectors have at times offered different interpretations regarding the pace and intention of Iran's nuclear activities. Some analysts have consistently argued that while Iran possesses the technical capability to produce enriched uranium, capability does not necessarily equal intent. Beyond the direct political implications, the IAEA's statement may also have economic consequences. Global markets, particularly energy markets, are highly sensitive to geopolitical risk. For years, the possibility of a nuclear-armed Iran has influenced investor behavior and oil prices. If concerns about an imminent Iranian nuclear weapon decrease, energy markets may adjust to reflect lower perceived risk. However, the agency's findings do not automatically resolve regional tensions. Iran's nuclear infrastructure remains a powerful strategic factor, and mistrust between Tehran, Washington, and Tel Aviv remains significant. The perception that Iran could potentially develop nuclear weapons capability in the future continues to influence policy debates. Inside Iran, officials have long insisted that the country's nuclear program serves peaceful purposes. These include energy generation, scientific research, and the production of medical isotopes. The IAEA's findings reinforce Tehran's claim that no verified weapons program currently exists. At the same time, Western governments continue to emphasize the importance of transparency and access for inspectors. Expanded inspection access and cooperation with international monitoring mechanisms remain essential for maintaining confidence. Historically, limitations on inspection access have made it more difficult for the IAEA to provide full assurances about nuclear activities. Continued diplomatic engagement on technical verification remains critical. Despite the agency's findings, concerns expressed by the United States and Israel do not disappear entirely. Both governments also focus on other strategic issues such as missile development, regional alliances, and conventional military capabilities. Those topics fall outside the narrow technical mandate of the IAEA, but remain central to broader security debates. International reactions to the IAEA's assessment have therefore been mixed. Some governments view the report as an opportunity to reduce tensions and revive diplomatic negotiations. European nations in particular may see this as a chance to strengthen dialogue and rebuild agreements centered on nuclear transparency. Others remain cautious, arguing that monitoring must continue and that verification challenges still exist. Public discussion has also shifted. For decades, fears of a nuclear-armed Iran shaped policy debates, military planning, and sanctions regimes. Now, With the IAEA confirming that it has not found evidence of an active weapons program, experts and policymakers are reconsidering how best to approach the issue. Some advocate renewed negotiations and confidence-building measures. Others argue that continued monitoring and pressure remain necessary to prevent future weaponization. Understanding the role of the IAEA is important in this context. The agency's mandate is technical and narrowly focused. It assesses nuclear material, enrichment levels, and compliance with international treaties such as the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It does not make political judgments about regional security or military strategy. Its statement that no verified evidence of an Iranian nuclear weapons program exists does not mean Iran's nuclear activities are without controversy. What it does provide is a factual baseline grounded in inspections and verification. As this story continues to develop, one thing becomes clear: authoritative verification matters in international relations. Evidence, or the absence of evidence, carries enormous weight in diplomatic negotiations, global security strategies, and public perception. The IAEA's confirmation that it has not found proof of a structured Iranian nuclear weapons effort challenges long-standing narratives and reframes the global debate about Iran's nuclear future. For policymakers, analysts, and citizens around the world, this moment represents an important turning point. The question is no longer simply what Iran might be capable of doing, but what the available evidence shows it is actually doing. And how the international community responds to that reality could shape the next phase of global nuclear diplomacy.